My former running mate, Donald Trump, actually has a plan to start to consolidate more power in Washington, D.C., consolidate more power in the executive branch.
This is where President Trump went wrong. He focused on trade with China. He didn't focus on the fact that they were buying up our farmland.
This guy has not only divided our party, he's divided families all over this country.
We welcome you back to CBS Mornings at 7:30. There were some choice words for the former President Trump in last night's second Republican presidential debate. He wasn't there, of course, and that's part of his strategy, it seems, to break down the debate. We are joined by CBS News chief Washington correspondent, that's Major Garrett, and Terry Sullivan. Got a new look these days, Terry Sullivan, a communication strategist, and Marco Rubio's campaign manager back in 2016. You've had the beard for a while. We just haven't seen you here for a while, so welcome back to the table. Guys, last night was described as chaotic, raucous, just a hot mess. Did anybody have a breakout moment to you? Major, start us off, please.
So look, the idea of a breakout moment when Trump isn't there is an impossibility. It just doesn't happen. And even though there were some choice words, some criticisms of the former president at the margin, no one really took him on. If you'd watched that debate last night, you'd think the worst thing that former President Trump had done to America was not attend that debate.
Yeah.
I'd say there's a large swath of America that would think there are other things you might want to insert there. Well, January 6th would be one. What he said last week about reviving a 1798 law. Let me repeat, a 1798 law, the Enemies Act, to begin the deportation of any non-citizen aged 14 or older suspected of any criminal activity.
What he said
Mass
Mark
deportations. No one even brought that up in the immigration context.
What he said about Mark
Milley,
yeah.
calling for or implying that it would be necessary to kill a former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Nobody brought that up either. So in that sense, breakout, if you're not really going to take him on, you're not breaking out. And there was an element of the debate that was just riddled with static. It's like, for those of us who can remember what it was like to be in between stations on an AM radio, full-blown static.
Yes, full-blown static.
Yeah.
Terry, what'd you think?
Yeah.
You know, look, a minute and 35 seconds, that's how much time was spent during the debate focused on Donald Trump. That was it, out of all of it.
A minute and 25?
A minute and 35 seconds
35.
was focused on Donald Trump. It's almost like he's not the guy with 58% of the poll. And so this theory, you know, we had a crazy theory in 2016, a bunch of the campaigns running against him, that, look, if we can just consolidate the other vote. Like, we can ignore him and we can get the other 60% of the pie. That's what we need to do. And that might not have worked, clearly. But at least it wasn't delusional. What they're doing right now is delusional. They have got to take, regardless of what the issue is and what Republican primary voters care about, they've got to take the fight to Donald Trump, 100%.
But a lot of times they were snarking at each other.
Yeah.
All the time.
The Haley-Tim Scott exchange surprised me. You know, Chris Christie made a crack about not Donald Trump, but Donald Duck. I don't think that landed so much.
Clearly, the screenwriters' strike affected him as well, because that was a terrible joke.
Yeah, that sounded much better in the green room.
It works as a New York Post headline, though, I have to say. They've got a "Where is Donald Duck" headline. So, you know, I mean, sometimes it plays
look,
the next day.
let's also be clear. If any of the candidates who were on stage last night had the lead that Trump had, they wouldn't have been on stage.
Yeah, and Major...
They wouldn't have gone, because they don't have to. Debates are a
why
hassle.
would you?
Anyone who knows that with the preparation, the time, they're a huge hassle.
I know.
If you're leading by 50, you don't show.
But Nate, undefeated football teams don't get to sit out games.
Not the same thing.
You're right about that. You're right about
that. But they would if they could.
They would if they could just skate to the championship game.
Right.
Let's talk about what the Republican voters are looking at, because many things were covered: gun violence, education, immigration. But what is the main focus, do you believe, for Republicans?
The answer to that question is always, what do people go to when they're answering the question that they want to answer, as opposed to the one that was posed to them? And so the answer last night is immigration.
Right.
Everything dials back to immigration. I thought it would be half immigration, half inflation. No. The default position is, I'm on immigration. What you didn't hear about last night was impeachment, the shutdown, anything like that. This chaos in Washington, except, I'm not Washington. But everything dials back to, and those on the stage last night knew that the audience would be most receptive to a short, punchy answer on immigration.
And you saw that
all gave.
even in the first question. I completely agree with Major. On the first question, where Tim Scott pivoted right back to immigration.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought Tim Scott actually had the best or the most improvement from the first debate to the second debate.
I thought you were going to say DeSantis because people thought he did not have a great night the first night.
Right, he had a much better, but Tim Scott did it like in the first 30 minutes, came out swinging, clearly not shaving. Was like gave him extra spunk, you know, so like something I figured
salt
out.
and pepper on
yeah, so something I figured out a long time ago, like you know, and so, but he literally, I think, but DeSantis did better too, but it wasn't until 10:30 at night.
Okay.
You know,
Major, before we go, do
Yeah.
you mind telling us about your new podcast? I
Yes.
know from reliable sources, it's
Yes.
quite good.
Available today, wherever you get your podcast, Agent of Betrayal. What is that about? It's about the life of Robert Hanssen, the most damaging spy in FBI history. A veil of contradictions, someone who was at work in the FBI, virulent anti-communist all the time, handing off our most secrets to the Soviets during the Cold War and after the fall of the Soviet Union. I've been working on it for 2 years. This project was launched during the depths of lockdown. My team and I have put it together. 50 interviews, more than 80 hours of tape.
Wow.
I guarantee you, I don't say this about myself. All of you know I'm kind of on the low self-promotion side.
That is true.
This is
about
really
you.
good.
Yeah.
This is really
There's a
good.
little bit of, as you said that, a little bit of laughter from the green room. I don't know. Is that your producer?
By TV standards, I'm on the low end of self-promotion. Let us clarify.
true.
Art,
Let
is
us
that
clarify.
you?
Thank you very much, Major Terry. Always good to see you. Thank you both. Major's new podcast, have you heard? Agent of Betrayal is available today, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts.